Hey, and welcome to Black USA Crypto News. I'm your host, Kamal Hubbard, and wow, what a week it has been. No week in crypto is dull or slow. Well, sometimes they're slow, but this one went by pretty fast. There was a lot of great things that were taking place, and some of the top stories in particular was El Salvador. The president of El Salvador is looking to make Bitcoin legal tender. So this obviously created shockwaves within the space, within global news, that a sovereign country is considering Bitcoin for legal tender. Not very far after that, Paraguay, a South American country, introduced legislation to attract businesses to the country with various tax breaks and incentives. This is good news because the world is opening up to crypto. My guest, Bryce Weiner, joined us. And before I get to that and get to him, welcome, Bryce. Before we get to him, I want to discuss the implications of some of this. Sovereign nations recognizing Bitcoin as legal tender. The IMF came in very soon after to say, oh, wait, hey, not so fast. Let's talk about this before you consider doing this. So, we'll touch on this in a minute, but I'd like to once again introduce my guest, Bryce Weiner, to the show. We're here to talk about rebuilding Black Wall Street. But once again, first, Bryce, how about you introduce yourself to the audience and let them know who you are?
My name is Bryce Weiner. I'm a layer one blockchain developer, which means I make the actual blockchains like Bitcoin or actually Tau. And I've got 10 years experience in the space developing. I've kind of forgotten more than most people will ever know about this technology. So, and I've watched the market and the industry itself grow. And that kind of gives me a unique perspective in the sense that I have that institutional knowledge, that deep institutional knowledge, where it really provides almost like a hatchet that can be used to cut through hype. And you had mentioned El Salvador, and it's funny, I had to step away from my Twitter feed because that's in fact the topic of discussion today, because folks looked into how that actually worked on a direct and technical level, and it's not what people have said it is. And that just happens in the industry. It was absolutely deceptive in how it was announced, and folks are going to rage about this. But that kind of is the point about, some of the stuff I think we should probably talk about today. Because if you don't look, the whole point is, trust no one. And I think, that's something that will come pretty easily to the audience in this regard, because that's, just the MO already. And you can't abandon that when you come into the cryptocurrency space, because people will lie to you. And they not only will they lie to you, but then they'll just lie to themselves and just start talking. And they may absolutely believe, as intently as possible in what they're saying, but that doesn't mean it's actually true or that, they fully understand the concept in order to eloquate it as they are. And there are many, many people in the space who, like, for instance, and I'm just going to name names, one guy to watch out for is Nick Carter. That guy, everybody loves him, right? He's all over the place, CNBC, whatnot. They had started talking about the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC of the United States, which is the law that governs basically all commerce. And it's, a function of international treaties and also a domestic law. And there is a clause in there which defines what money is under the UCC. And suddenly they were trying to start to apply this to Bitcoin in this concept. However, the problem is, when you look into how this whole El Salvador thing works, it's not actually Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like in it for 30 seconds, and you can actually take it out of the equation. So what's actually going on here, and just so your users are kind of aware of just how nefarious this is on a geopolitical level, that the El Salvadoran government is currently ruled by an authoritarian dictatorship. And that guy seized power in a military coup last year. And the whole reason why they're switching over to something like Bitcoin is because they have no liquidity left, because you're a dictator and people don't want to do business with you. So, and they're not under sanctions yet, almost. But El Salvador lies within that cocaine corridor in Central America, so it's kind of important. But at any rate, the dictator and this Bitcoin wallet, Strike, have created this system. We can do this any way we want. It's just software. And they created the system so that the El Salvadoran diaspora in the United States buys Bitcoin with US dollars. They send the Bitcoin to El Salvador. And then on the El Salvadoran side, it's turned into Tether, which is what's known as a synthetic US dollar. It's basically just funny money, cryptocurrency, and somewhere behind it, someone's got an asset or a dollar behind it, so it's worth a dollar. This is what stable coins are about. So you put in USD in the United States, and on El Salvador, you get USDT. And in the middle is this Bitcoin transaction, which USDT is already on a blockchain. It's on Ethereum. And it's also on Bitcoin and Tron and EOS and a bunch of others. But it's not necessary in this equation. You don't need Bitcoin here. And when you look into who does the custodying, who transfers from USDT to Bitcoin and back and forth on the El Salvadoran side, it turns out it's a bank owned by the dictator and his cronies. So when the El Salvadoran diaspora buys Bitcoin and sends it to El Salvador, that Bitcoin goes to the dictator, and everybody gets USDT on the other end. And so it's not the El Salvadoran people who benefit from Bitcoin price volatility. It's the dictatorship. So if, it's like 37,000 now. And where did the El Salvadoran dictatorship get all this USDT in the first place? They have no money. They can't buy it. Probably given to them by Bitfinex, which is the exchange that prints USDT whenever they want. There's like 80 billion Tether exist in the world. Giving 1 or 2 billion to El Salvador for this kind of hype, totally worth it. And in fact, you set up this corridor of money laundering and you empower a dictator at the same time. So here's cryptocurrency being used to oppress a Central American country, like the United States government would. Absolutely no different. It's an absolute tragedy. And this all came out today. I mean, this was literally the topic of conversation as I stepped away from my computer to speak with you. It's an outrage.
Well, that's part of the reason why I wanted to have you on. This is the biggest news of the week, in my opinion. There's a what was that?
This is going to have geopolitical consequences. Make no mistake.
Yeah. Wow. And there's a lot to talk about there, but I'm glad you kind of gave some insight into what's really behind the story. A lot of people are just championing. Pardon me. They're elevating the story due to the hype, right? And what it does for Bitcoin. But behind the story, the backstory, what you just really elucidated on, goes to show how this really can cause damage to the industry and to the people on the ground, the people of El Salvador. So thanks for providing that insight.
No problem. And I mean, I stood on stage in 2014 and said that altcoins would fund global revolution. And I was more accurate than I had thought, because Bitcoin apparently is funding dictatorships. There's nothing else one can say right now. That is exactly what it's doing. And when the Bitcoin price goes up, the El Salvador diaspora remits $4 billion a year into the country. And now all of that's going to be Bitcoin. And all of that goes into the pocket of the El Salvadoran dictator. So yeah, Bitcoin people are happy. Woo, $4 billion worth of Bitcoin sales every year. Awesome. But then when the price goes up to $100,000, the funding of this dictatorship triples instantly. It's disgusting.
Right. And this is kind of similar to the line that I discussed in my book, DeFi for the Diaspora. that goes along the same line once again with white supremacy and how they rallied around Bitcoin to fund their operations. And, when the Bitcoin price goes up, a lot of those guys are able to cash out and, either elevate their messages or increase the bandwidth and resources to their operations.
Absolutely. And what we're really talking about here is these larger enterprises who just want, they don't care about anything other than people buying their coin. That's it. They literally don't care about anything else. And there's an opportunity within other networks, such as ours, Tau, that we can build a dual system. We don't have to use money of colonialist oppressors. We don't have to use the money of these pasty white dorks in their fucking basement that have now funded a dictatorship from their closets. Like, this is not, we don't have to do that. We can do anything we want with this technology. And quite frankly, I want to empower the Black community to build a system that belongs to them. You can have it. I make jokes, like I'm the token white guy because I'm the white guy that makes tokens. This is what I do because that's what they're doing. And if this technology is going to have any real benefit to the world, somebody has to do the hard stuff. So fuck it, I'll do it. Sorry, please excuse my language, but it's how I feel.
Well, yeah, that's why I wrote the book. Writing a book is not an easy thing at all. And so I wrote the book to try and bring people down the road in terms of where we are. And, it goes in line with what we're doing. So I think just to kind of back up and to start from the beginning, there's something that I need to say. I need to give full disclosure about the Tau Network. I'm an advisor, longtime advisor to the Tau Network. And, I've worked with Bryce for years now. And I think that's the best place to start. So let's start with Tau. What is the Tau Network? How did it start? What was the purpose of the network? And where are we now, I guess?
Well, we couldn't always just say it. To say that you're in any place, any venue, really, that you were going to build something for Black empowerment, everybody would look at you like you were fucking nuts. Nobody would take you seriously. So we couldn't just come out and say it. But what we wanted to do was start the process. Build the knowledge, fail a few times, learn what doesn't work. And you can see in the logo, or this is actually our old logo. This is now a collector's item sweatshirt. We started with the music industry. And we collected, Tom Osinski, who is an intellectual property attorney to some of the biggest rock bands that you've heard of. Peter Rafelson, who is a songwriter and producer of some of the biggest hits that you've listened to. And we decided to begin to focus on returning value to Black artists and the communities that they came from. And when I say that, what I mean is, it is the experience of the Black community in Watts and in the Bronx and in Compton that drove the narratives of hip hop that created billions of dollars in revenue. And those areas are still impoverished. And if their culture can create billions of dollars in revenue, where the fuck did the money go? This is a question nobody wants to answer because everybody knows where it went. It went to record execs' pockets. That's bullshit. There's no reason for that now. Cryptocurrency, in fact, can fix this. And it can do so if it's crafted in a specific way with a specific goal and executed with the utmost care for where you put your feet. Because you can step in shit in this industry and not even know it until months, years later. And this strike thing is a perfect example. There are people who are not going to figure this out for a minute. And they're going to feel very stupid when they finally do. We want to avoid feeling stupid. We want to avoid spending money. We want to avoid making promises we can't keep. And so we started with the music industry. And how can we employ this technology towards benefiting artists and the communities they come from? And we tried everything, absolutely everything. You name it, every project that ever died, we've got a version of it that was half finished, and we decided, oh God, this is never going to work, and we walked away from it. So when we finally, the incarnation we are at now is literally born not from 5 years of success, but from 5 years of research and development and failure. We know it doesn't work. We are going to fast forward through all of that. And even now in this space with NFTs, which are the ultimate sort of implementation of this idea, which we can talk about in a moment, they're still making the same mistakes. NFT platforms are not only similar to old record labels, they are even more draconian. When you consider a blockchain, not even just a platform that you issue through, some of them you can't leave the platform. You're just locked in there without signing a contract, without any sort of legal recourse. You're just stuck because that's how their technology works, and that's how you raise $5 million. So enjoy your money. That's where your stuff lives from now on. Who benefits from that? The platform does. Fuck that. That's the old way. The blockchain itself, if you can't leave a blockchain and move to another one, it's just a more decentralized record label that's still keeping your work prisoner. That's also bullshit. So with a proper set of standards and practices, a standardized way of executing NFTs, Black artists, any artist really, but we focus on Black artists. Anybody can do this. It can move their value anywhere they want, represent that value any way they want, sell it any way they want. When you create a song, there's 17 different rights that go with it. You can monetize all 17. You can monetize logos. And you can give someone the ability to print t-shirts, and you collect for 30%, 40%, whatever your percentage is, whatever you agree to, whatever the contract is that you create and offer for someone else to buy. And there's no more that publishers out of the equation, gone. Music managers don't need publishers anymore. They just go to a marketplace and decide what's, HBO, literally, this is the example. HBO needs a theme song for a new show. They just go to the marketplace, buy sync rights. And if they don't see one, they just contact the artist and say, hey, we want this kind of sync right. Let's start the negotiation. And it's direct to artists. There's nobody in the middle. And if you don't want to offer your music for sync rights, you don't have to. You say, no, I don't want to mess with that. I don't have the money, time, effort. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's fine too. It's the ability to exit. It's the ability to say no. And those two things, that's what freedom is. The ability to tell someone to fuck off and mean it. And if you can't do that, it's just a more abstracted form of servitude, of oppression, authoritarianism. Pick your ism. That's what it is. And this is what cryptocurrency people do not wish to talk about. And it is, in fact, the very problem that we're looking to solve. And we're going to do it with our network. And if you decide you don't want to be on our network, you can convert to another network that follows the same standards and practices. And thank you very much. We'll see you later. I wish you all the best. And not only that, so let's talk about Black Wall Street. Because a blockchain Black Wall Street can't be shut down, can't drop bombs on it. The Klan can't, burn it to the ground. In fact, the Klan can invest and then profit. Because, and I say this all the time, and people get pissed off. And the people who get pissed off are the people who should hear it. If you are so goddamn racist that you can't even profit from Black people making money, I got nothing for you. That's who you are. And those people, we'll find out who they are. All of them. Every single one of them. Because with a decentralized network like Tau, which is governed by people, not me, I don't run it. The people who run the nodes and make money run it. And these people are making a couple $100 a month just with a server running in the cloud somewhere with some Tau in it, and it's making them money, a percent. In fact, it's like every 30 minutes you get. I'm pointing to my computer because I have one, And I am participating in that too, but I participate on an equal level as everybody else. And every 30 minutes, I get more money in my wallet because I'm helping support this network and keep it alive and keep it moving and make sure that nobody's messing with it. Anybody can do this. And we're telling you, your audience. We don't tell everybody else. If you Google around, you won't see a lot of this out there because that's not who we want. We want your audience. Because those are the people who are going to have the ideas that need to be implemented. I'm not going to, I got technology. You want exchanges? I can build exchanges. You want to trade tokens? We can trade tokens. What tokens? For who? To do what? That's up to you. You tell me. What we do, we have a very small team. It's 4 of us. I'm the lead developer. We have a community of a couple thousand people. We've been around for 5-6 years. But we serve. And every single person that participates in this, every single community member knows what we're about. We are here to serve. Tell us what you want. Because whatever you want is what's going to make money. It's going to make you money. It's going to bring that value back. It's going to empower that community. It is the dual system. Opt out, exit. It doesn't get any better than that. And then we've never had this opportunity before. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But we would be, it would damn us to hell if we don't even try.
So I agree, and there's 2 things that I want to also make very clear. This is an invitation to not just the audience at BlackUSA News, but the diaspora and at large, essentially. If this is something that you would like to build, come join us here at the Tau Network, for one. The other thing too is like you said, it's a dual system. And what I wanted to also highlight in my book is creating a bridge, right, from this legacy system that we're working with to this new system that you just talked about, and being able to go back and forth as one chooses or so pleases to do, and having the option to do both. It's not a one or the other thing. It's not a binary choice of, once again, one or the other. It's a way to go, hey, if we want to have a sustainable system that is going to be able to support, like you said, the ideas that we have for the future that need to be supported by us and need to be benefited by us the most, here's the opportunity to do it. Especially, I think there's a real gap, like you said earlier, in knowledge. And, the technology right now is outpacing the enterprises and the corporations that have had control over the financial system. So once again, now's our chance to rally around this technology, do our best to understand it, but also to innovate. So,
how to put this? This is very rarefied knowledge, how all this stuff works. There's a lot of smart contract developers these days because it's become very popular, and there's many different networks to choose from. But the people who understand how the networks themselves work, the people who can actually create and monetize a network, I think there's probably less than 200 of us in the entire world. And I don't know how many of them are black. I know a couple of them are. There should be more. And if your college, your high school, your business organization wants to learn, we'll teach you. Anything you want to know, just ask. Because this is the way things are going to go. You hear about FedCoin and something called, if you look in the financial pages, you'll see something called CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. CBDCs are what governments came up with to compete with this. Because people love this stuff. And before it got too big, they had to go and put a stamp on it. So they said, oh, we're working on our own. And even the US government's working on one. You will see FedNow and Fed 360, that's what they're called. FedNow is between banks, and Fed 360 is what you might use. And those are going to be online in 2023. They're on track, no hangups, full approvals. just a matter of building and testing the systems, and that's going on right now. Deadline has not changed. So even the United States is moving over to a digital currency. And when we talk about things like the unhoused and the least among our society, the ones who are the most vulnerable, the ones who have the least access to technology, the ones who have the least ability to execute the technology, we need the excess wealth to be able to take care of them too. We can't forget anybody along the way, or we're just more of the same. That's where creating abundance comes in. When you build systems to create excess liquidity, which you can then move from one system to another, as you mentioned, and create absolute magic in the lives of people who didn't ask for it, who may not even know your name, but will live a better life because you decided you want to make a couple points on $100 you have. So you put it in a P2P loan, which is invested in a guy, selling t-shirts out of a shopping cart. That's what we're talking about here. That's how cryptocurrency not only bridges the gap between the two systems, but begins to actually change the world by changing one life at a time. And I sound like an inspirational speaker sometimes about this, but that's what it's about. And if you're not about that, I got nothing for you. Like you just don't invest in my stuff. Nothing I say will ever make sense, because we have to bring along the least of us as well. And I asked you before we came on if it was okay if I mention this. I'm an activist. When you see, white folks out there in the front lines getting tear gas and shot with rubber bullets, I'm one of them. I'm 46 years old. You see this gray? I'm out there in a balaclava and body armor taking hits. Because that's my job. That's what we're supposed to be doing, right? That's the level at this that I believe. That's my commitment to this cause. So you don't have to believe anything I say. We've got the receipts. And we'll show you. I mean, if you want, we got them. And you need to come and play. Come play. Come play with us. Just take a look. See what we're doing. And if it doesn't blow your mind, then, I wish you all the best. But I think it will. I'm okay with saying, hey, go check out somebody else. Go see what someone else is doing. Does anyone else give a shit about what happens to you? I don't think you're going to see anyone that says yes.
So to a certain extent, I think there's some degree, and I hate to say this, there's some degree of complacency sometimes that goes along with cryptocurrencies. And I say that to say, when I tell people about, Tau, for example, in the good things that we're trying to do and that we've done too.
It wasn't all failures. You're right. It wasn't all failures.
No, I mean, well, to a large extent, once again, it's innovation. And then we're seeing people making those same mistakes all over again.
That's right. Taken 3 years ago. Like you can't beat that with a stick. That's how far ahead of the game we are.
Right. But, there's people who just say, well, why not just get Bitcoin? And not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's some people who just say, hey, I'm going to buy Bitcoin and I'm going to hold on to it until it reaches, X amount of dollars and I'm rich and everything's done. Or, we're in a fairy tale world, right?
I'll be the first person to say, I have a network that I want people to buy, right? I'll be the first person to say, you can't buy Bitcoin first. And then use that Bitcoin and trade it for my coin. And then keep a little Bitcoin for yourself. Don't be allergic to making money. Okay, so there's white supremacists in Bitcoin. And they about some things that maybe you're not about. All right, make some money off of it. There's no reason why you can't profit from that crap. If you're taking some of those funds, some of your bonus, some of those profits you make, and putting them somewhere where it's going to build something to counteract that trash. And that's what I recommend. Make your life better. Pay off your debts. Reach a stable foundation. And then do something everyone else will tell you is absolutely insane. And that's what change is. And when we hit a critical mass of enough people doing it, the whole world is different. We live in a different place. And we're going to wake up one day and look behind us and be like, holy shit, we made it. We never thought it would look like this, but we made it. Maybe, I don't know if that'll be in my lifetime, My grandkids will see it. So that's good enough. Let's get started.
Yeah, well, now's definitely, once again, now's definitely the time to put in work however we can. And really the first step, and maybe all that someone needs to do is buy the coin. But once again, this is not financial advice. We're just trying to provide information for people in terms of how to better understand blockchain. We're talking about this particular project, though, the Tau Network, and what it has to offer. And I kind of want to go back once again to rebuilding Black Wall Street and what we're doing today with this network, and having a small business initiative within the Black community, not just in the United States, really globally. But we're here, we're U.S. based, we're doing outreach and conducting outreach with small Black businesses, and so let's give the audience an understanding of how this program that we're rolling out actually works.
The one thing that we know from the last 100 years is that not only does the creativity of the Black community generate billions upon billions of dollars, it is an infinitely renewable resource. How many, you can't even say what the entertainment industry would be like. Jazz music, hip hop. If there's no jazz, there's no rock and roll. No Elvis. You can't trace any piece of the entertainment industry that doesn't owe its roots to the Black community. So if that's the case, I think you should own it. And I think that people should come with their hand out and some goddamn money in it to return value to those who created the value in the first place. And you decide how that money is spent instead of a record exec. You want a boat? You buy a boat. Fuck it. Why not? Nobody should tell you, that's the whole point. Nobody's going to tell you how to spend your money anymore. Nobody's going to tell you how you should raise money anymore, but you do have to follow the laws because there's still guys with guns around. So, there's some security regulations and stuff, but we'll help you with that. But Black creativity, as I said, is an infinitely renewable resource. And if we tap into that monetization as the foundation of this economy, it can fund everything, anything. And because what couldn't you buy with all of the money that the Black community has generated in the last 100 years? You can buy a whole government if you wanted. So with that in mind, that's kind of where we're starting with artists. And we don't care about artists from yesterday or even today, quite frankly, because everybody under the age of 25 understands inherently how cryptocurrencies work. You don't have to explain it to them, nothing. They bought Dogecoin already, So those people are the future of the music industry. We're going to take them all the new creators. And if all creators want to come on board, cool. We'll even help them negotiate how to maneuver from that legacy world into this one. But new artists are really where the foundation is, because they have no strings, no contracts, no ties, no album deals. They can do anything they want. And that is the future. That's where all this value is going to come from. And then we can do some technological tricks, which we've learned from other networks. We can build things like liquidity, which is these massive numbers of volume of trading, the amount of money changing hands every day. That's all automated. The markets themselves are all automated. It's all HFT. And we can do that for every single Black creator. So now we have the beginnings of this economic system where we have the value created by artists, and then we have this marketplace of money changing hands. And once you have that churn, that flow, then you can start doing things like lending. And if you lend somebody money, they're going to pay you interest for that privilege. That's what a bank does. So you're printing money and you're collecting interest. That's actually a bank. But it's not a bank. It's a piece of software. That is the foundation of Black Wall Street on a blockchain. where it's that base, and it's very understandable. And this is like economics, maybe about Econ 200. You have something of value. People start trading it. That creates a flow of funds back and forth. And then you can make money betting on that flow of funds. That's all it is. Just bets, like a casino. When people say the markets are a casino, that's exactly what they mean. And all of that is virtually unregulated. The regulations for commodity trading are very, very thin. When you get into advanced things, like you'll hear terms on TikTok and whatever, like binary options, you can create binary options on these assets. That stuff is regulated, and you have special licenses and stuff. We'll take care of that. We got you. Just do your thing. And that is the foundation of all of this. You can build businesses based on that. You can fund businesses based on that. There's no credit ratings. There's just how good you are at putting your money where it makes money. And I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please, by all means, interrupt at any time.
No, I was going to say, I mean, a lot of the time, credit ratings, come about, or there's a bias that's built into credit ratings at times. So, having
how about a loan officer that'll never turn you down because he looks just like you? Wouldn't that be neat? That's what it's like for being me. That's what happens when I go into a bank. You should have that too. And I'm not even flinching to say shit like that because I listen. I've heard these stories. I've heard jokes even. It ain't really funny. That's why we're doing this, because that's exactly what we're going to create. You don't have to do that anymore if we're successful. Not if, when. The only reason we would ever fail is because we quit. And I mean, I'll be on my goddamn grave before that happens.
Well, that's why this show is important. Is once again getting the message out.
I'm going to smoke. Use my terrible habit.
Okay. Well, once again, I was going to say that's why this show is important, to talk about what is possible. It's not just about getting a coin and looking at whether or not that coin's going up every day. This is what we can truly create with these networks, and that's why I'm on board with Tao. But let's move away from the
question has popped up, like, why do I care? What else is there to do? Like, I don't know why I think this way. It's just how I was raised, I guess. But there's nothing else worth doing. Like, I was born, white guy, silver spoon even, got a trust fund. Small one, not millions of dollars, little tiny one. But it makes sure I can eat every month, A lot of people don't even have that. And that's just weird. It's just weird. And, you'll hear this from activists a lot. When you have privilege, you have a job to do. You have an obligation. That's why I care. What else am I going to do? It's why I'm here. It's why I have all this. I honestly, I could not think of doing anything else. I've been doing this for so long, and I don't mean cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency's only been around a hot second. Ferguson, I was there. Cincinnati, I was there twice. Seattle in 1999, I was there too. LA, Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, Bakersfield, San Diego. That was last year. It's just what I do. It's who I am. I don't know anything else. I don't know why I care. I just do. I mean, I like that question because nobody ever asks. But there's really no answer. I mean, it's just me.
All right, I'm going to go back to my question before that question. Now, moving away from the artist context, and you just have a regular brick and mortar Black business, right? Mm-hmm. Who doesn't get the capital from a VC, doesn't get the capital from the SBA, doesn't get the capital from the big bank that is less than a mile away from them. How can this network empower them to go to the next level?
Oh, I love this question because it's something we went to. There are three regulatory agencies that govern all of finance in the United States. The SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission, the CFTC, which is the Commodities, Futures, and Trading Commission, and then there's the OCC, which is the Office of the Comptroller of Currency. That one is often forgotten because you don't really hear about it much. And the reason why you don't hear about it much is because they don't have to say shit. They're the ones that determine who is and is not a bank and what is and is not money. Like, they just don't have to talk, you know? So we went to all three and we asked them all the same. We talked about different things based upon what those organizations were tasked to regulate. But in the middle of those conversations, we asked them all the same question. What regulations from your organization apply to peer-to-peer loans in the United States? And they all went, we don't have any. So we went to all three financial regulators in the United States, and none of them have any regulation for peer-to-peer loans. And a peer-to-peer loan is Kamal has a business, wants to borrow $1,000 to buy some new equipment. I will give him $1,000 if he pays it back, if he pays me $1,200 in 6 months. Done and done. That's it. There is no law, but see, the problem is with that is how do you enforce all that? How do you make sure they're paid back and, all that stuff? You don't have a credit rating. You can be anybody. You got to sell the idea. You got to pitch it. You have to put something together that says why you want the money. You got to put a little bit of work in to get that money. You have to let people know who you are. Tell a story. Be creative. That's what gets money. You don't know how to tell a story? I bet you there's going to end up a category of business who have storytellers who will come and learn what your business does and then tell the story that investors want to hear to loan you money. It all goes back to creativity. It all comes from and goes to the Black community. And it comes from investing in each other. And the software just makes that happen. It just keeps track of the records. Make sure the money goes from the right place and comes from the right place. That's it. You don't pay the loan back? Mark on your record. Not a credit rating, but it lets people know if you paid them back or not. Doesn't mean nobody will invest in you again. It just lets other people know you tried this once and it didn't work. You can even tell a story about that. Probably a good idea if you did. Failure. And this is interesting too, because there's this knowledge that's created in failure. And what the Rothschilds, that's what it was. When Mayer Rothschild established his banking dynasty, he put something in the execution of the trust where any member of the family could come and borrow money. And when they paid it back, or if they didn't, they had to include a piece of paper, minimum, and they had to write down what they learned. And then that knowledge stayed with that family. That's why they're the largest banking family in the world today and have been for like 500 years. Imagine if the Black community did that. And then there's this blockchain, indelible, immortal record of everything that worked, didn't work, and you can go and have a great idea and look it up and see how it happened for somebody else. That's amazing. That's institutional community knowledge. And it's yours. Anybody would have access to it. But would it be worth anything to anyone in any other community? Nope. It's all yours. Doesn't matter if the rest of the world sees it or not. That's how powerful this technology is. And that's what we want to implement. Like we've built the foundations of this. We built a marketplace, fully regulated. We built a network. We built a community dedicated to the cause. We're ready to get going. We've even got a beta application, which we're about to actually launch into full bore, which makes you money every 30 minutes. We're looking to build this, and we want the participation of the Black community. And quite frankly, if you don't want it, if you don't like this, we'll go away. I mean, that's why we're here. But like I said, damn to hell if we don't try.
Well, I would just say there's thousands of other coins you can, play around with, right?
That says anything that I say, and put money in them instead. But you won't find them because nobody else gives a shit. Straight up. There's literally, I think at last count, there was about 68,000 different networks. 68,000. Not all of them are monetized, but there's 68,000 of them. Go find anyone that says what I do. Go find anyone that talks like we do, that has the goals that we have. I'd like to talk to them if they're around. Maybe we can work together. It's not a competition when it comes to that. But I haven't found anyone else but us. So, more power to you. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely not a competition. And
No.
I think that needs to be stressed, first and foremost. And when we're looking at a decentralized finance context, there's so many different ways that collaboration can work. So,
and take this a step further. Within the altcoin community, which is every currency other than Bitcoin, there's a community of developers. And this technology is so avant-garde that if it breaks, there's nothing to Google. There's no book we can read. It literally is the first time it ever happened, and we got to fix it. What? We have nothing to rely on but each other. And outside of the Bitcoin community, when you get into the altcoins like Tau, or I'll even name drop some other ones, Expanse, who has a wonderful developer named Christopher Franco. He's got a different goal along the same lines. We're buddies. We don't compete. We're not even in the same sort of community vector. But we want the same things out of the world. There's another one too, Verge, XVG. You might have heard of it. It's kind of bigger. Justin Vendetta. It's got a mixed reputation. But I'll tell you, those people are straight up. I don't care what anybody says. I know them. We help each other. That's the community we already have. And we just want to expand it and bring in as many people as possible to our little circle. And this is your on-ramp. We're offering it to you.
So there's an open door to, obviously, people who are looking to fund this project. There's an open door to developers. There's an open door to, community members, community managers. There's an open door to governors. I want to get to that in 1 second, though, because I want to actually go back. You talked about the business use case for a single business. Now, if we kind of expand that out to a larger consortium of businesses, how does this look? Like in a place, say, like Boston or Houston or DC, where a Black Chamber of Commerce or a private business consortium can work with their group of businesses and facilitate commerce.
It's money. It works on your smartphone. You can send it, receive it. There's point of sale systems, even for my network. And you can use this as money within the community, within your businesses. We'll even help. That form of utility, that use, is the dual system made real. If you consider how Black Wall Street in Tulsa worked, it was that community of Black businesses which utilized and purchased each other's goods and services that built that wealth. And then they invested in new businesses, which created more wealth. Pick a city, pick a chamber of commerce, pick a Black business council. We'll do it. You will create that exact same economic activity amongst yourselves. All has value. You don't even need to cash out to dollars if everyone agrees to use this particular currency. And then we can help the community by educating them and providing them with tools, maybe a little to get started, and begin to create wealth because we can. We have a money printer. We will print money. We can do it all day long. And use it within those communities, and it's real money. It has real value. Somewhere out there, you're able to turn it into a dollar bill. That's what's important. Not that you ever do, but that you can. And if a community comes together and agrees that they're going to use this amongst each other, maybe you can't pay your rent with it, but you might be able to buy a carton of milk from the bodega down the street. That's what matters. That's where it becomes important. That's where it has real impact and power. When it can just buy a carton of milk. And all that takes is a Black Business Council in any city, anywhere. Just come talk to us. We will do everything, anything you need. We'll make it work for you, for that specific community. You don't have to do things our way. That's how flexible this technology is. We can build it specifically for you and the people you serve, and interface with other Black communities around the world who do the same thing.
Right. So I guess maybe a good place to go now is to let people know, where can they find this coin? Where can they find tokens in the TAO network?
Well, if you are looking to just buy a couple bucks worth, if you're looking to, and when I say that, you're sort of immersing yourself into the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So when you go to purchase TAO, that experience is the beginning of that education. How does it all work? Where do you even get Bitcoin? I would recommend go to a place called Gemini.com. Run by the Winklevoss brothers, so some of the founders of Facebook that Zuckerberg kicked out. It's where the term Zuckerberg came from. Those guys built an amazingly secure, safe, trustworthy Bitcoin exchange that does millions of dollars in volume. Go buy your Bitcoin there. Take that Bitcoin and you can send it to alt.market, which is our exchange, which will be launched on Monday. So this is a very timely broadcast. You can also find it on another exchange called qtrade.io. And there's a third exchange, which is going to appear in China very soon, which we'll talk about in the future. But the network is growing, you can see it. We're adding new things already, even as we're here. We have elves working, doing their thing, getting all of this ready. And you can buy Bitcoin, send it to one of these specialized marketplaces that I've mentioned, and you can buy TAO. And I'll warn you, the first thing that happens to anybody in this industry, anybody that comes into crypto, is you end up losing a little money. Be prepared for that, because that's the education. I could explain to you all day long about slippage and order books, and your head will probably melt down. But if you just go ahead and do it and be willing to pay a little bit of money for that education, it'll serve you for life. It will teach you what you need to know in order to live in this new environment. Just the act of what it takes to buy TAO. Go buy Bitcoin, send it somewhere, and buy a different coin with it. That's the basis of this economy that we're talking about. You will already be educated in how to do it in the process of getting that coin. If you want to buy a lot of it, come talk to us. We can arrange an OTC deal, and that is much easier than going through the markets. But it's like a bulk order, that's like wholesale. So there are these multitude of options, but I do recommend that folks just go buy some Bitcoin. Go to one of these other exchanges that serve these, niche markets like ours, and go through the experience of trading these tokens like everybody else does, and learn what all the people in the cryptocurrency industry already know. And that's how you'll start to make money. It's not through the process, it's through the knowledge you gain by executing the process.
Absolutely. So now we've talked about, the artist use case, the single Black business use case. We also talked about Black business at large, given a locality use case.
And then they
now I want to
those localities on a larger macro scale.
Right. And I mean, really, that's a global thing too. And
yes, sir.
I think,
yes, sir.
To a certain extent, my book talks about that, but I think people can kind of come to the logical conclusions. The last thing maybe that we might have time for is you've discussed governance, and I've brought up governance previously, but how would you define what governance is, and then how it applies within this ecosystem?
Right now, when you talk about government and governance, it's like the government. It's Congress, and they debate and just there's a problem to be solved, an issue to be addressed, and somebody says this is the issue and I want to solve it this way, and there's a whole bunch of debate, and it either happens or it doesn't. They might even establish a committee to go investigate the truth of this claim and the validity of the solution. And then the committee reports back, and then everyone goes, That's governance. In the cryptocurrency space, it's absolutely no different. But instead of passing laws, you're writing code. That's literally the difference. And you can kind of see, if you take a look at the trajectory of society, that's where government is headed anyway. Congress will make a decision, and a bunch of government software will change parameters in order to execute, whatever. The power of government is the ability to spend money and to decide how money is spent. And so, a bunch of, buttons and levers will flip, and then money will go over here instead of over there. That's what governance is. And it's no different in a cryptocurrency network. The governance of the network tells people, a board of governors, for instance, on Tau. You have the validators, which will participate in keeping the network. And then from the validators, there are elected a board of governors, 20 of them. And so there's a possibility of ties. That's politics. Sometimes a community can be so split on a concept that it shouldn't happen. It would be more detrimental to implement it than not. That's what a tie is. So in that sense, the board of governors then tells people like me what to do, how to code. And if I don't do what you want, you fire me and you pay somebody else. And there's a budget to pay developers built into the network. Nobody has to pay them. The network pays for it. The money comes from the network. It's a token printed like anything else. But it goes to pay people like me to do what I am told. That's it. And we can be held to account, which is something that a lot of networks don't have. That accountability, everyone talks about decentralization and nobody's in charge. Well, nobody is in charge, but somebody has to be accountable. Somebody wrote that line of code that does what it does. That person should be responsible for it. I'm not saying even legally responsible. I'm saying like morally and ethically responsible, like in the sense of transparency. Like you want to be able to know who the person, there's a bias in technology. We all know this.
Absolutely.
How do you know that code isn't biased if you don't know the person that wrote it and what motivates them? My code could be biased. I know this. And hear me, even still, my code can be wrong. Somebody has to be able to say, hey, that's wrong, go fix it. And here's why. And then my job is to listen and do it because I don't know what it fucked it up in the first place. That's transparency. That's accountability. That's what doesn't exist in most networks, including Bitcoin. And that's how you get the fuckery like El Salvador. At the end of the day, nobody's responsible. That's the tyranny of the mob. That's a faceless, nameless authoritarianism that is abhorrent. And of course, it empowers other authoritarians and dictators because that's what they do.